Now I'd like to turn to Bob Davidson for his workshop tips, tools, etc. Bob, welcome.
Thank you, Jim. Hopefully everybody can see that.
Yes, sir.
So here we go with this week's workshop tips and tricks. Again, for anyone who's new, I've been working in the theater and exhibit fields for most of my life. So tonight's main topic is material madness. We tend to use some stuff in the exhibit and theater world, a lot of times for its lightness, for its weight. But these are just some things I thought I'd like to share with you all. So first, some sheet goods that we use. Most everyone is probably familiar with foam core. Foam core is nice, but it's a paper surface. It tends to bend pretty, it dents pretty easy, etc. So what we typically use is something called Gator foam, which you can also get at art supply stores. It's the same core. It's a polystyrene foam core, but it has a wood veneer surface on it. It's incredibly hard and incredibly rigid. So you can get it in natural with a white surface or a black surface. So if you are looking for just a lightweight board for a base or whatever for a background, Gator foam is really the preferred paper type of sheet material to use. We use a product called Sintra, which is expanded PVC sheet. So it's a foam expanded PVC core, and then it has a polished surface on it. Comes in thicknesses from 1 millimeter up to 12. I've seen 20 millimeter thicknesses. What's really neat is you can weld it with PVC cement. You can heat it and curve it. You can form it with heat also. We use our acrylic bending machine, which is nothing more than a piece of nichrome wire on a dimmer. So you can actually heat a line and do bends with it. It does take paint, and it is machinable in the thicker stuff. You can put inserts into it, etc. So that's called Sintra. It comes in a lot of different colors, and there are a lot of different brands. There's Comatex, Trovacel. There's a lot of different types of the same expanded PVC sheet. Another thing we use a lot of for product boards and things like that, I don't frankly know. I keep a couple of sheets of this around just to paint on, our scraps that I have at home. It's called the Lucabond, which is, again, it's a plastic core, but now you have an aluminum surface. Usually comes either brushed or white. Another trade name for this is Dybond. So you want to check those out as well. There's more information at this 3acompositesusa.com. I'll skip to that real quick. And you can see under the graphics and display, there's all these products, and you can go and get all kinds of technical information on all these things. So just interesting to kick around. I do want to say that you want to look and see if you have an exhibit house in your area, or there's a scenic shop, or even if you have a regional theater. We use these materials all the time, and frankly, we throw out a lot of scraps, and a lot of the scraps that we throw out are big enough certainly for use on most model railroads. So if you can, get friendly with a local scene shop or exhibit house, or even if you have a convention center in your area. Unfortunately, a lot of the convention industry, the exhibit industry, is probably one of the biggest waste generators in the country. So at the close of a show, a lot of stuff winds up in dumpsters. Another interesting sheet good is laminate backer. You'll see this a lot in people that are doing laser cutting. But laminate backer itself, it's really cheap. It's like $10 for a 4x8 sheet. Not that you're going to go buy one, but again, it's a scrap that we use. We typically put this on the back of a sheet of MDF or plywood if we need to balance out a panel, because if you put laminate on one side, it's going to warp. So laminate backer is a really nice, I know Nick up at Itla Laser Art, they use laminate backer in some of their parts, so it's a good thing to know. Sign foam is another thing that we use. This is a real high density foam, which is used for outdoor signage. And again, if you have a sign shop in your area, get friendly with the person and see what they're throwing out, because I actually use this stuff. I drilled it out and I use it for holders for all my paint jars. We had a couple of sheets left over from a job. Coroplast sheet. So this is corrugated cardboard in plastic. Comes in different thicknesses and it comes in a lot of different colors. So it might be something that you find a use for, just for masking something off or just as a back structure. It's very lightweight. This stuff, you can sometimes find it at local art shops. They might have that. Homasote. We all know Homasote. You can buy it still at Home Depot and Lowe's. It's called soundproofing board now. But the one thing that we use Homasote for is we split it to make bricks, to make fake brick walls. But if you look at that, they really would lend themselves to being terrain. So by splitting a sheet of Homasote, you get this kind of very rough texture that might be a really good base for an outdoor scene or a rock wall or something like that. So something to think about. The way we do it is we have a couple of these that we made up in the shop. These are just brick splitters, and we cut the Homasote to shape, but you can just use a chisel and a hammer, and they'll split. Once you get it started, it'll split right in half, and it's a pretty good way to use Homasote in an interesting fashion. Some other stuff that we use around: Ethafoam rod, which is backer rod. Again, just a foam product that is good for infilling stuff. Cracks, if you have expansion, if you have joints between modules or something like that, you can use it to seal up. It comes everywhere from 1/4 inch up to, I've seen 2 inch, 2.5 inch Ethafoam. You can find this at building suppliers. Roofers will use it. Masons will use it. It's used at expansion joints. Sign cutting vinyl. Really good thing to know, because we go through a ton of vinyl for sign making. When we get to the end of a roll, we're pretty much, it's unusable. I give a lot of this to the local high school art department. But again, if you have a sign shop, there are frosted varieties, there are flocked fabric varieties that can be really good, again, as bases for landscapes. So you do want to look at that. We also use release tape. Excuse me. This is kind of like, I can use it kind of like a painter's tape. Comes anywhere from inch wide to 12 inches wide. You can buy this up on Amazon. But what's neat about transfer tape, this is Transfer Right Ultra, you can actually see through it a little bit. So if you want to tape over something to protect the surface, this will not adhere. It's a very light adhesive, but you can see through it, so you can actually cut things to size, etc. It's a good help. So that's kind of the materials. The tool of the week is a contour gauge. If you don't have one, I suggest you get one. They're a lot of fun to use. I use them just to mirror, obviously they're made for doing moldings and things like that, but they're really good if you have to cut around something. If you have a structure on your layout and you need to, right now I'm cutting around, putting in some false groundwork around the roundhouse, and I'm using this to actually give me my angles in it. So it's just a real easy way to transfer. You can get expensive ones, you can get cheap ones. Here I just did a little pattern on my jar of styrene cement. Less than $10. The general tools. I like this one because the leaves that make up the contour gauge are very small. They're very thin. So you can get a lot of, it's more accurate. Some of the other ones out there are now plastic and the fingers are actually thicker. So you want to be careful with that. But this is just the down and dirty one, the General Tools one. It's been around forever. So I recommend it. Tonight's neat website is outwater.com. Outwater Plastics is a supplier of all kinds of neat stuff. If you are ever just to go through it and see, a lot of it is structural stuff, but they have a lot of decor, just a lot of neat, standoffs, extruded profiles. They have all kinds of stuff. You can make your own. You can open an account with them. They don't care. They'll ship it, whatever it is, to you. So it's just a neat source, and that's just outwater.com, which is a pretty cool website to poke around and get some new ideas and stuff like that. Next week, we're going to be look at getting our act together with fasteners. We'll look at some alternate fasteners, things that I use a lot, and we'll have some fun with that. So I'm going to stop sharing here. And let's go back to the Zoom. One thing I did, just a little bonus thing. I was at the dollar store on Monday. In the aisle where they have health and beauty. Okay, this is glue dry for nails. Guess what? It's AC Accelerator. $1.25. I bought like 10 of them. So, it's a lot better than $20 a can. It's an aerosol. So it is, I looked it up and checked it out. It is AC Accelerator. So check your local dollar store for a deal. That's it for this week. Thank you, Jim.
Anybody have any questions for Bob? Bob, thank you so very much. I also want to tell you how much I appreciate all the hard work that you're putting in as chairman of our scholarship committee. I think you're just doing a fantastic job, and I can't thank you enough for doing it.
Well, thank you, Jim.